Hi, and welcome to this capital market update from Nordic Unmanned. We are speaking here live from Oslo. I'm Knut Roar Wiig, I'm the CEO of Nordic Unmanned. With me today I have Lars Landsnes, Chief Operating Officer of Nordic Unmanned.
Yeah, welcome.
So the way we will do it today, we will give you a presentation of the security vertical. We will, after the presentation, have a Q&A session, and we allocate a good time for that. So if you could, during the presentation, your questions that may arise, please have them ready for that session. The way we're going to do it, we have a small audience here in the room as well, so we'll let the audience ask the questions first, and then we do the digital questions afterwards. So that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so I will start. So a bit of the background of why it's relevant to have this update now is obviously the change and the dramatic change in the security situation in Europe. What we have seen lately has been horrifying, and it's also something that we haven't seen after the Second World War. So that's changing the market, and it's happening really, really quickly. So after the invasion started, we have seen a big political change in Europe, with several countries increasing the defense budget and several others talking about what the increase will be in the immediate term, and then the budgeting process for the long term is also starting. This situation is obviously going to change the short-term and long-term defense spending in Europe for the following years. I don't think anyone believes that this is going to change quickly, and we also see historically that dramatic changes like this follows long lines of changes. What we see from our side is a short-term significant increase in request of drones. And I think the big question is, what will it mean in the long term, and how will this new budget be spent? And we're going to spend some time today on describing how we see the market, how we are positioned in the market, and how we are repositioning our offering to the new market. So if we start with this World Bank graph here, what we are seeing that the defense spending in Europe measured versus a percentage of GDP has gone down since 1960. So for almost 60 years, it's just been going down. And it was coming from some very high numbers before, obviously in the Cold War era, and I think this has been happening over so long time that this graph has not been that interesting to look at before. But when we bring it up now, we see that it's been going down until a couple of years ago. And the change in thinking happened after the Crimea invasion. But it still took time before the politicians started slowly to realize that this means something in the way we're gonna spend our money. But then you see a uplift in the budget happening as a result of that. But this is also a result of the Trump administration and them requiring a minimum 2% number from NATO. So actually the 2% number is based on the historic security situation in Europe and not the current security situation in Europe. And the question is obviously, how do you going to spend the money going forward? If we look at what is happening in Europe now, there are a lot of European countries with the borders facing both Ukraine and Russia, and the change in the defense budget that has happened in reality the last week we see a big change in budgets, especially for those that have the closest borders to the situation. Interesting is Denmark going quickly up to 2%, Germany as well, Poland now at 3%, and Norway is only at 1.9, a small lift, and Romania at 2.5. And if we look at where we do business today, we in this map we do business in several of these countries with several of these governments, and that is why we have a high interest in looking at how they're going to spend their money. Overall, we see now an increase of 74 million, or now 72 billion euros so far, and that's for spending this year. And that is a huge uplift and a huge challenge to get that money into activity due to procurement processes, which we believe is going to change, and they're going to use exemptions. And also because for the industry to all of a sudden deliver a lot of highly complicated and technical equipment is not a very easy task to do overnight. And then if we look at what this looks like in this graphic, so you see the new defense budgets, including the increase for this year, and now the total budgets for these countries that have so far announced the uplift. And the big one here is obviously Germany, which is now having the largest defense budget in Europe all of a sudden overnight. And Germany is a market where we are well positioned, so obviously this is very interesting for us. Even for Denmark, it's a quite big lift. Norway have a very small change in the budget so far, and Sweden is also a quite big uplift in the budget. So if we look at the way Nordic Unmanned has structured the business historically, we have talked about our 4 market verticals, and those 4 market verticals are pretty separate because they have different type of offering, or had different type of offering, different type of solutions, different type of customers. And when we now look at this, we have been for the last couple of weeks or month analyzing, okay, there is a change in the market, there is a change in the situation. What does that mean for us? How could we use the know-how and the solutions and products from the other areas into this area to support the new demands and the new issues that has arisen within the security vertical. And we have been talking about our 2025 target of 1.1 billion NOK, which would be more or less 110 million euros. And we're not changing that target just as of now, because we need more time to analyze the long-term effect. But when we were setting that target, we were looking at in reality 4 different areas of or streams of revenue. So we have talked about our own IPR, our reseller or partner OEMs, the lifecycle support, and the operations. And we're going to spend some time today to let you understand what these areas mean in reality, because it's kind of hard to just out of the 4 lines understand that. We have also initially we said that the own IPR will represent 54% of the 2025 target, and we still believe that we will go in that direction. So we have removed it here. We're not saying 54. It could be around 50, but it's all dependent on what the product mix will be from here. So a lot of things is moving at the same time. So that's why we have this a bit more laid back relation to how this is going to look. If we look at the overall 2022 business, security is a very important area for us. It's gonna represent a considerable amount for us. So it was important before this happened, but our budget planning was not based on this new situation, obviously. So we'll come back also to ways this could go as we move forward.
So when we look at the security vertical and the products and services we offer, and we have selected to this market, we have our own IPR, which consists of the AR100 series and the AR100H being the latest version of our drone, which is manufactured down in Germany. And the Stalker BG series, which is designed and manufactured here in Norway. In addition to our own IPR, we also on drones, we also have sensors, accessories, and other products we offer together with our own drones and together with other manufacturers' drones. In respect of other vendors of drones, we deliver the Aerosonde from Textron and the Indago and Condor platform from the Lockheed Martin company in the US. When we offer those type of services, we don't only resell the product, but we resell an offering of different services associated with the drone. So we start with when we took in the Indago into our portfolio. We started with training our customer, security customer. We have a lot of experienced pilots, technicians, which comes from these areas. Trained the operators. From there, we started integrating radio technology, enhancing the capability of the system. Then we took life cycle costs to make sure that the customer are supported from a life cycle perspective on maintenance, repair, and overhaul. So we have inventories, we have technicians supporting when the drone needs service. In addition to this, we built sensors. So when there is an end of life in respect of a sensor from the manufacturer, they now start coming to us to get the replacement sensor. So we'll see a bit later some pictures of those. But the latest one is the sensor, the EO/IR sensor we have on the AR100H platform, we have now integrated to the Lockheed Martin Indago platform. So we are utilizing our capability to build products to also being the system integrator for blue chip drone manufacturers. We do extensive training. We have built internal capability starting with the Indago. We have also done that now on the tactical US. That's also both for our internal purposes because we use them as an operator. We operate this year. We will operate 3,000 hours of tactical US. We have a team of between 30 and 40 pilots and technicians, and all of these needs to go through a type training course. The type training course is between 6 and 8 weeks, and of course, taking the team out for this amount of period of time is an extensive investment. So we need to make sure that we have the flexibility and the efficiency when we do that. So we can also service our running customer. And in that we also utilize the tactical UAVs as an operator for this segment. We're taking the data because the platforms are built so we can take data and stream that to either one customer or two customers or three customers. The real benefit of the tactical UAS and these security systems is that the customer gets critical information in real time, and they can share it among different functions, so they can action those type of data. Thirdly, it's important on the system is that there is a low footprint in respect of when they're acquiring data from the different targets they are looking for. These are a visual to show a little bit where the TRL or technical readiness level of the different products. Textron Aerosonde, which is a fixed wing long range, which we utilize for surveillance, ISR, a type of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance tasks, has about 500,000 flight hours on it. So it's a mature system. Lockheed Martin Indago, it's you see, it's a quadcopter and has been now we are working on Indago 4, so platform. So the Indago came 10 years ago or so with the Indago 1, 2, 3. Currently we're operating the 2 and 3, and number 4 is coming. And we we are one of the biggest user outside North America, and we are the biggest reseller. Therefore, we are also selling back to Lockheed Martin our product portfolio, which we have been developing over time. Camcopter is a rotary helicopter platform, and it's also used for ISR, but also for other type of purposes like emission monitoring. That platform has about 75,000 flight hours, and all of these three from the OEMs has a TRL level of 9. Our own products, the railway drone, which is capturing data on the rail, either through running on the rail or flying above. Currently, the TRL level is 6. The AR100H, which is the next generation of AR100 family of drones, which is utilized by the Bundeswehr in Germany, is at TRL level 8. So we're close to having that as a serial production. The Stalker BG200, which is built and designed, manufactured in Norway, are utilized for different purposes, but the logistics part of the application of the BG200 is now at TRL 7. We will start the operation with that type of drone during Q2 this year.
Okay, so if we look a bit deeper into the AR100H, so AirRobot was one of the first European producers of quadcopter drones when they back in 2005 started the contract with Bundeswehr, and over that time, they have received a lot of customer feedback, and the German Army have experienced a lot of different use cases on the initial system, and actually the initial system, we still do maintenance, repair, and overhaul every day on that in Germany. Still, we have a contract with Bundeswehr that is doing that. But the interesting bit that our industry has been missing is for customer feedback and military customer being exposed for products and then having the possibility to give feedback to how it should look further. So the design that we ended up with today is based on that dynamic customer supplier relationship with Bundeswehr. The new AR100, it's foldable, as you can see here. It's folded in the propellers, but the whole system is foldable, and the design is in modular construction. That means that you can take off all the arms, you can take off all the legs, and you can take off one GPS model, replace it with another. You can take off one radio model, replace it with another, and you can also take off the payload, obviously, and the battery. In addition to what you see here, there are 4 other payload bays on this one, so you can add 4 other payload types on it. That could be a small down-looking radar for altitude. It could be a AIS beacon. It could be a radio relay. But the bays are already integrated. So and the reason is we don't know what the next sensor, what the next solution is going to be, but we need to have a way to integrating it. So that's already in the design, and it's also fully glove compatible. Which could sound strange, but from a military user, one of the key requirements for Bundeswehr was that entire operations, so from when it's taken out and then put into operation, operated, taken back down and put back in the backpack, you should not take your gloves off, which is really, really hard because you have to design and make the product for that specific purpose, including the GCS and the operation of the GCS and the touchscreen on the GCS. And all of this has been done by a robot, so it's developed, designed, and produced in Germany, and it's both the air vehicle, as you see there, the payload that's hanging below, and the ground control station, and including all the necessary software that is in there. If you see on the payload, you see there are basically 3 openings on this one. So it's a day camera or a normal camera, and then it's a thermal camera, and then there is a rangefinder laser included as well. So with the software that we have inside this, it fuses the day camera and the thermal camera into one picture. And then you can decide which temperature range you want to see in the image. So this process makes it a lot simpler for the operator to use it in the field, and to instead of having 2 different data layers that you have to look into, you can identify what you want to do. Also, the size of this payload is considerably larger than the one we're using with Indigo today. So it has a lot better user interface than what we have done. On the back of that, it has a similar modularity to radios. So you can change the operating radio within less than a minute, simply by removing the antenna, putting on a new antenna. And what we have seen clearer and clearer from the Ukraine war is that the frequency that you are using is absolutely crucial in military operations. So most drones, civilian drones or consumer-grade drones, they will be flying on 2.4 or 5.8 gigahertz frequency, which is the available frequency for those types of operations. But what has happened is that they are jammed, so they are not available, or they are tracked. So more and more are coming out recommendations from Ukraine how to turn off your GPS, how to avoid the quite simple electronic warfare systems that could destroy the opportunity to use the drone at all. So having a modularity in the radio means several things in a situation like that. First of all, you can have a military-grade radio that is resilient to somebody trying to hack into the drone, or somebody trying to jam it so you can't use it. But it also means that you can easier work together with different allied forces, because you can agree on which radio system or which frequency system or which cryptation system that you want to use, and simply replace that on the drone and on the hand controller, and then you have an entire new net that you're working on. And then it's obviously man portable, which is this type of drone system. It's a type of drone system that we believe that going into the future, it's hard to think that modern military forces don't have access in a big volume of these types of system. It needs to be man portable as a result. It's NATO produced, and it's also ITAR free. And ITAR, it's a hassle. It's the US regulation that regulates export control, and the US is using that both to prevent military equipment being exported to the wrong countries, but it also is a way of in reality, everybody who buys it falls under US regulation. So Bundeswehr, they don't want to be under the US regulation. Obviously, they want to have the freedom to do what they like under German law. So that's why it's important for them. So it's designed as an intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance drone, with the possibility to extend with new types of sensor that you can add as development goes on. And the reason is Bundeswehr is using what they bought 15 years ago. They're still flying that today. So they don't think about consumer drones like, okay, you buy it and then you buy a new one in 2 years' time. These are long processes of defining the technical specification, and then you produce it, and then you use it for 15 years. And that's why we think the value of the maintenance or life cycle support contract is about 50% of the initial procurement contract for this.
So part of the design is also based on life cycle cost, and both in enhancing efficiency of the life cycle cost, but also the service level, and which in the AR100H, when it was designed, is about 400 pieces in total. About 20% of all the pieces which the AR100H consists of, 20% of that is optimized for additive manufacturing, or it's 3D printed parts which we use, and that has a significant reduction in the life cycle cost. You need maybe less inventory, time before production to use is significantly lower, which means that you can reduce in total your inventory. When we do or there is changes to design, we can easily, quickly change the part into the design and into the manufacturing process, which means that the obsolescence part of any aviation industry will disappear for these parts, because you don't have them on inventory, you have them on the blueprint of the part itself, and it's electronic. So you can either sell the part or you can sell the access to the data for the part, so through a service subscription as such. In addition, the operation might, for logistical reasons, utilize 3D printer themselves and have those in the field to make sure that they have necessary access to these parts.
Okay, so you do about the production first, Lars, yeah. And then I'll do the commercial.
So the production in a robot is we have about 1,500 square meters, our production facility. It's a 9,100 certified production and engineering company, which means that we can manufacture aviation-graded parts in there, and which the drone industry is part of. Currently, we have the capacity of producing 50 units per month, including sensors, and we can scale that up to about 200 per month. We are building efficient processes. After we took AirRobot over, we have added some additional processes to lean out the manufacturing, so we can increase the churn of these units and understand where all the different bottlenecks in such production is. And we are looking, of course, also not only to fulfill our own requirement, but we're also seeing how can we utilize this for any other OEMs which might need this type of production capacity. Lastly, we are seeing is the market now to quickly scale and quickly start the production of the AR100H.
And if you look at the commercial status, as we are saying, there is a increased commercial traction that we have seen over the last month, and it's also here related to what do you have in stock, what is new, what is used, what can you deliver now. That is the main question we are receiving for time being. And then the next question is, okay, so if we place a order, when can you deliver a different volume? So for AirRobot, the big contract decision that we have been talking about is the Mikado contract, which is the contract that we have been working with for some time. That contract, we are expecting a decision on award by latest mid-May, and we have been waiting for some time, so they are postponed in a bit. But in reality, everything is done from our side. We have done all the testing we should do and delivered everything, so there's nothing holding back on our side on that. The contract, it's for 145 systems. And the user initially wanted a lot more, but due to contractual constraints, they ended up with that volume. If you look at the size of the German Armed Forces and that volume, it's a very, very small volume. As I said, it's very hard for us to believe that in the future that these systems will not be widely available. So how big that volume could be, it's going to be interesting to see. But then we also have the existing contract with Bundeswehr, and that is the day-to-day and week-to-week maintenance, repair, and overhaul, and to a certain extent upgrade of the existing systems. It also represents training of new servicemen and servicewomen that should use the system. So we have a day-to-day delivery to them as of today as well. On the product itself, in the potential Mikado contract, so Mikado is the contract name of this procurement. The first production was never planned to happen before end of this year, beginning of next year, under the contractual terms. But the product is ready now. We have several prototypes, and we have it has finished the initial qualification. That's why we are launching the product now, and we are planning to launch it in the US in the end of April, and we are starting a demo plan for Europe that will happen before this summer as well. So we see it as a very is a very interesting product for the European armed forces for several reasons. And the reasons is we have touched on them, but in reality is that they have a need and they don't have too many options when they're going to buy. So it's a certified product, it's a German product, it's a NATO-produced product, and it fulfills the quite demanding needs of army, and that's why we see a market opportunity now based on the current demand that we are seeing. When it comes to the price of the product, or the system as we call it, so the system is the drone, the batteries, the sensors, the tablet or the hand controller, and then several spare parts and so on. We obviously don't want to say what our bid price is, but we could say, or we could indicate that a list price on a system level, we would be talking about 75,000 euros. It's if you compare it with a commercial product or a civilian use product or with that type of product, this is something completely different. This is an industry grade, military grade product. So it's very, very different from that. What we have finalized is we have okay, I'm going to go back so you understand a bit better. Underneath here there is the sensor that we talked about. So we have repacked that sensor or the interface, the physical interface with the sensor. We have put on the standard Lockheed Martin Indigo interface, and then we have done a software upgrade. So as of now, the sensor is fully integrated into the Lockheed Martin Indigo family as well. That means that we could sell the sensor to existing Lockheed Martin customers as an upgrade, to new Lockheed Martin customers, and it works both with the existing Indigo Lockheed Martin in the Indigo 3 and the new Lockheed Martin Indigo 4 that Lockheed Martin will be launching soon. So we have managed to leverage on the sensor that is in there, and actually getting a good sensor at that weight class that you have full software access to, that you could integrate into all the systems, turned out to be quite hard for competitors, and that's why we were allowed to integrate with Lockheed Martin on this one. As far as personnel, Lars, is concerned in Germany,
so we are currently 35, the team, and with the potential award coming for the Mikado, we will increase that significantly.
And what we're also doing, we are also looking into taking the ground control station and integrating that into the Lockheed Martin Indigo system. So it's a next generation type of ground control station, and that's another project that we are working with in the short term, that goes into our system integrator offering. Okay, so talking about the Lockheed Martin Indigo, Lars, could you say a bit on the sensors here?
Yeah. So you'll see.
Point for the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. So this is the hand controller, so which runs the drone. Here you'll see a radio unit. The radio unit is a Norwegian radio, designed and manufactured up in Trondheim, which from a company called Radio Nord. It is a highly sophisticated radio for the defense and security sector. We have, of course, integrated it as well into the Indago. This is an Indago 3, and we are operating this in on a vessel at this point. It has 5 different sensor capability. It has this is an Ion 30X, so it has a 30 times zoom. So it's a EO type camera with high zoom. It has this is called an Octus, so it has the EO, but it also have the infrared sensor and all comes into the GCS. And it has a Duo Plus, which is it's going end of life, and it's going to be replaced by the AR100H Heimdall sensor, the one we are designing, manufacturing in Germany. Then we have 2 other sensors. This is a drop payload. So you plug it under. You have a string, and you have whatever you're going to carry from one area to the other. If that is critical supply, or if it's information from one area to the other. This is designed by Nordic Unmanned and is manufactured now in our production facility in Germany. This is a radiac sensor, so it measured the radiation level and within quite a large distance. All of the data is transferred from the drone into a computer-based system, and the computer-based system could be either in this instance it's on the ship, so it's on the vessel, so the operator, the drone operator, and the user of the information gets the information instantly. In addition, it's transferred to a data center where one capture the data and store it. So different users can access the real-time data, but also historical data from these different sensors. It has a really low footprint, both visual but also from a sound point of view. So it's special type forces are high users of the Indago system. It does cost a bit more than the AR100.
And we have customers in several European countries for this today, on both military and police level that is using this. So the data could be sent through a 4G network, through a fixed network, through a satellite network, or to a Starlink type of network. That's all how it's being done today, with a maximum 2.5 second latency on the receiving end. Then a bit surprisingly, but not that surprisingly when you look at it, we have been approached with military interest of the railway drone. So all of a sudden the need of doing reconnaissance of railway infrastructure has been seen in Ukraine. A lot of the railway has been used both for transportation and as strategic values. So that's we never foresaw that would be an interest. Here is an upgraded image of the current product. This is what we call the non-flying version. So this it drives, and we haven't added the flying capability yet. This is also going to be launched in the US in April, and we're sending this unit actually to the US within a short amount of time. So it's an interesting thing, but I think more for us, it's interesting to see how we could leverage on the investments we have done and explore new use cases for the assets. When it comes to the logistical drone, initially when we mapped out and defined what the logistical market and the main targets in the logistical market was, we had the area that was system integrator sales to military forces for logistical drone. But we thought that would be a bit further into the future, so we didn't spend too much time on it back then. But in reality, what we see now is that the product has matured to a level where it is more relevant to bring it to the market from a military point of view. It has taken longer than what we expected to get the final certification of the flight, which we just have received. So we're now looking into how this could be relevant for military use, for supply and resupply in the field or over or between vessels over water. So basically scaling the use case that we have identified in the as operator in reality or as a non-military use. But scaling that into another area is what we are looking into. But then as a system integrator and not as an operator in this case. But this the platform now could carry 2 boxes. As you see here, that is the size of the boxes. It has a winching system underneath, so it flies out and then it delivers while it's hovering. So it's a free fall drop of the box. And then there is a brake on the winch, so it basically stops and it then delivers it on the ground, and then it flies further. So delivery takes seconds with this solution. Okay, so we are moving into tactical UAV. We are now targeting all markets in Northern Europe with tactical UAV. We have extended our commercial relationships with Textron to the countries in Europe we would like to have focus on now, and that's the Northern European market. There is a lineup of product here, and the interesting bit here is if you look at the current product we have today is the MK47. So that is what we are flying today, operating today, and that is available at the short term. That means that Textron has assets available to come very quickly to Europe. Then they have developed this product into a hybrid quad, as I call it, which basically means you're going to see it afterwards. We have the takeoff and landing requires a bit of logistics, but the future it's not requiring anything. So it's a vertical takeoff and landing functionality, and then it transitions into a fixed wing flight after it has done that. And in reality, the development of tactical UAV in NATO has been driven by the US Army and their future tactical UAV program, which is probably the largest drone program in the world for the time being. So it's several billion dollars. And they have a requirement to be runway independent, and a very low logistical footprint, and that has driven the development in that direction. So it means that with Textron we could scale quickly now based on the existing technology, but we also positioned for customers that want the technology that's ready or within I would say a year if you go for the MQ-48, but the flight time is exceeding 20 hours when you go to the bigger one. So it's all a different story in many ways. But this is what we go to market with, and we have spent. Since we got the OP46 contract in Q3, and then we have spent Q4 and now up until now, building up the full training capacity. So we now have full training capacity of pilots and technicians. And we have access to training assets secured, so we have our own assets. We have established spare parts inventory in Europe, and we are the only Luke-approved tactical fixed-wing UAV in Europe. So that gives us a very flexible commercial model. So whatever the customer, which model fits the customer, we have the potential to offer that model. So do you have a short-term need, medium-term need? Do you want to transition your short-term need into a long-term solution? We are fully ready to support any solution. So this is the tactical UAS market in Northern Europe. So there are some existing operators. As you can see, many of them are very old. Sweden has the operating system from Textron today, the Shadow system, which is a bit old. Finland is operating one. Denmark has the ongoing procurement for the tactical UAS. Germany has a very old tactical UAS. It's from 2000, so it's outdated. The UK has a tactical UAS program only for the Navy ongoing. Latvia just awarded a small program, and Norway has 2 tactical UAS programs ongoing. In reality, this is very small compared to this. So when we look at the size of the tactical UAV market in Europe for the next 10 years, we have module based on what the Danes are saying. So they have a budget for 135 million euros, 10 years. That includes procurement, training, lifecycle support, replacement of spares, replacement of air vehicles if they have mishaps, and that is around 2.7% of their annual defense budget. So we have module then saying, okay, if that's the best know-how we have about how one of the European countries are thinking about how to have a modern approach to using this technology, and then we have put 2.7% into the other countries that we're targeting on the old budget before the budget increase that we have seen. So that gives us a market in Europe, Northern Europe, for tactical UAV for the next 10 years of 4 billion euros. We see UK being the biggest one, and Germany being the second largest. Historically, both of those 2 countries are countries that are very that award a lot of contracts toward their own industry. So historically, you need to be positioned in the country to have access to that market. Otherwise, it's going to be, at least statistically, a lot harder to win contracts. And that is one of the reasons why we have established a footprint in the UK to have access to the market. In Germany, we already have a good footprint and a good relationship with Bundeswehr. Sweden, they are using a Textron system already. Software, it's similar to the Aerosonde. For Norway, we have an estimated size of market that's almost twice what the Norwegian Armed Forces has asked for so far. So we believe they're going to increase the budget quite a bit. With Denmark, we are on line with what they are saying. And for the Baltic countries, we are unsure if that's going to be procurements or if it's going to be services. If the budget is large enough to have a large enough fleet to go for a full deployment, we are more tending towards that. It's a service-based contract that's relevant than a procurement. And for Finland, they are in between. It could go both ways. But this is what we are working with. So how big piece of this could Nordic Unmanned take is the obvious next question. So there will be big contracts and the volumes. It's completely different than what we have seen in the drone market before. So there will be competition for this. But we would estimate initially as ambition that we would have a chance for at least 10% of this market. That's our initial approach to it. We are quite well positioned for this. Yes. Okay.
So, as an operator of tactical UAVs, we started operating with a helicopter drone from Sweden called Skeldar V200 in 2019. The platform wasn't as mature as we would like. Therefore, we changed the platform at that time. Therefore, we changed the platform to the Camcopter S100, which has 75,000 flight hours behind it. And even with that, there is a maturity happening in every day. We are the only operator in Europe with multiple platforms, both the Aerozone and the Camcopter. We have that in our LUC, which means that we can self-certify, self-approve through a robust process our operations in different jurisdictions within Europe. We have about between 30 and 40 pilots and technicians, and they are some cross-trained, and they can also do different types of activity on the system. We also we built the organization such that we are an airline, so we have most of the different airline functions. So we understand what does it take to operate the system. When do the system need to go for maintenance? When there is an upgrade, how do we implement the upgrade from the OEM into the platform and into the maintenance planning of these systems? The system themselves, they are even though the maintenance schedule is intense, we do most of that out online. So you can do full line and base maintenance out in the field, and they're quite easy to do such. A full maintenance event is about close to a week. We also built an operations center to take a task from the different lines we have to increase efficiency, but also to start thinking how can we operate these systems remotely. So our operations center starts in one way. We will start then performing sensor operations and eventually full operations. And through the implementation as a system integrator, the OEM market isn't as mature in services outside just delivering the system. So we have developed new different type of cockpits. So we call it the GCS, but the cockpit we have now on version 3, and how we see an operation from the system. You'll see the operation center at the bottom. This is controlling all our flights on every day. So they're working with the pilots, they're working with the ATC, they're working with the customer in the different jurisdiction. And we will have during this year, we will have at least 4 simultaneous operations ongoing on the large systems. You see some images. The top one is we are flying the Camcopter out and doing emission monitoring, and the image is and we're measuring the SOx and NOx level in the plume. We're measuring getting data from the plume so we can calculate the SOx and NOx level in the fuel. This is a TC300 IR infrared camera, which we use to maneuver ourselves into the plume. We're also on the bottom, you see the other type of use case is search and rescue, working with different search and rescue units here in the sea with the vessel. So here we have direct communication. We get the feed from the drone into the cockpit, and the cockpit works with the vessel and the end user, and they do that in real time. So we supporting different type of missions when we are flying that. And so we can application as migration control, etc. Ja, men trykker en til. Here you see the camcopter operating in emission monitoring and maritime surveillance activity in a place a bit warmer than currently in Oslo today. And here you'll see the live footage in utilizing the IR bit and the EO bit of this camera. So they're zooming in, they're finding where does the wind come and go, and then they position themselves behind the plume. And this is landing on this side. The camcopter, as I said, is 75,000 flight hours plus. We have flown 1,400 plus in Nordic Unmanned. We have 600 flights during the last year and a half. Currently, we have 5 air vehicles in operations. They will be all fully occupied this year, and it has a max endurance with the current payload we are using. It has there is the possibility to add additional fuel tanks, so we can get an endurance up to 10 hours. It has an extensive range, up to 200 kilometers. When we fly emission monitoring, it doesn't have that long because we are flying very low, but it can fly high, which means that you have the radio line of sight, and you can fly for the 200 kilometers. It is a 200 kilo platform, and has we can carry 50 kilos, either sensors or multiple different sensors at the same time, or up to 50 kilos with cargo, as we also will utilize the platform for this year. So I said in the EOIR, it also has a laser rangefinder, so they can measure the target, the distance between the drone and the target, and it of course has real-time metadata with GPS positioning. It has an AIS receiver, so it can find the ship traffic, and it can find people with an emergency beacon on if they've fallen water. And lastly, we're utilizing as emission monitoring with that type of sensor, where the data comes directly into the cockpit, and it's sent to an analysis for if to see if the ship is within or without the boundaries they're operating in. Yeah, here is another. You can see the quick deployment. It's in a container. It doesn't even need a paved area to fly from. This is from a grass. We can also utilize the helipad, but it's very versatile. You can deployment you can set up the deployment really quickly with this. You see the arm or the tube, that is the sensor for emission monitoring.
Yeah, in reality, what we do here is two things. So we use that for emission monitoring, and at the same time, we use the sensor for maritime surveillance for this customer. So to bundle the data set is also a business case that de-risks the cost for the customer. Okay, so if you look at the Aerosonde then and okay, if we just reflect first on what Lars is saying, so the reason why we think it's so important to have the background as operator, but also the flexible business case. So when you're buying something that you haven't bought before, all of a sudden you have a budget, you become a bit uncertain that you're buying the correct thing. So simplified. What we are in our system integrator package, what we are selling is also our experience and our advice that we are giving, and that's why the Aerosonde and the operation is also very important here. Up until last week, we are currently flying, as you can see on that last slide there. We are currently flying out of Odense. And this is from Flight Radar 24. I'm not sure if we're flying today, but over the last week we had flown 101 hours, and we are getting very close to be fully operational capability. We expect to achieve that within 15 days.
Yep.
Yeah. And we have also trained our first trainers. We have trained our first pilots on the system, and training is relevant because the cost of training on these systems is similar to the cost of training pilots on a Boeing 737. So it's not a commodity at all. It's highly specialized, and there are very few that could offer it. So for us, it makes sense to do it in-house. That also builds the capability to train others. And we have seen, as expected, that we started with the team needing the time. We learned that last year when we were doing the same thing with the camcopter, and now we are getting very close to where we should be. So the sensors here are similar to the one with the camcopter, but the interesting bit here is that we've added a new sensor as well, and that's the synthetic aperture radar. And this gives you an idea of the range and the capability the system could give. So what is the GCS location? That's Odense. So we could fly we could fly to Copenhagen and to the west coast of Denmark on one flight from just a radio point of view. And then if we use a spoke location, then we can extend that to parts of Sweden and the majority part of Denmark as well. So this is the capability we currently offer out of this. And then if we look at the synthetic aperture radar, so synthetic aperture radar is a radar system that comes out of larger planes, so typical fighter jets or other military planes collecting intelligence data. And with this radar, we offer intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, but we look through the clouds. We look through rain and fog, so we can do it day and night in a much bigger weather scale. Our current CONOPS, it's maritime surveillance. That's the contract we have with EMSA. That's what we're going to do. But we also see other unmanned systems in the air, so you can use it for counter unmanned system, for battle damage assessment, counter improvised explosive devices. So the system can see if you have been digging in the ground, so it sees the difference of soil, and that's why it's used for that purpose. And you see we have the moving target indicator. So there's a whole range of AI functionalities that's in the system. And there is a coherent change detection as well, and all of this we are using at the same time. The most relevant for the current operation is the maritime moving target indicator that we're going to use when we're going to start flying very soon. So I'm going to show you how this looks. So this is the takeoff of the system. So it gets with a pneumatic pressure, goes out, And then you can see underneath here is a synthetic aperture radar. It's a tube, so it's a fixed tube that's underneath. Here we are at flying. You see distance and altitude here, and you have different data sets that you're receiving at the same time. So at this point, the pilots are starting to receive a lot of data. So that's why the AI functionalities are becoming more and more important. There's a lot of, so we have in the cockpit of this operation, we have 4. You have.
So in cockpit there is the pilot and there is the operator of the sensor, and in the screens they have actually 8 different 2 main screens, and all of them are split in 4. So we're operating the drone, operating the camera on the drone, and operating the sensor, and then all the different data in respect of weather and so forth. So operational data.
So we have spent well, since we started with operation, developing and building the current type of ground control station that we are using, that has the right setup to do this operation. And we are also now using the same ground control station for both of these air vehicles, and as part of our system integrator offering to our customers, that it includes the ground control station. So here it comes into landing, and it's a net-based landing where all the kinetic energy is being trapped in the net, and then it lands. Okay, so what are we saying is, if we just sum up a bit on what we are seeing, we have already started to see an effect of this change. So in the last part of this quarter, it has started, but as we have seen, we think stock on shelf is expected that's selling out quickly. And there are not much stock on shelf within this industry. So the NATO countries, in fact, they are competing between them to get rid of the budget. So that's and some of them understand that, and that's going to be a short-term issue. But I think the biggest thing is that the market is not changing only because the budget is increasing, but it's also changing because what we are seeing every day from Ukraine, how these small drones are being used, how effective and how cheap it is to get reconnaissance for a small drone compared to a helicopter. What we have been believing in a long time, that having unmanned air vehicles is much safer than having manned air vehicles in a conflict zone. So a lot of the CONOPS, the concept of operations, that the NATO forces has been using, and the strategy needs to be upgraded. It needs to be changed, and it needs to happen very quickly, because all of a sudden it's highlighted that a lot of the ways we are thinking is outdated, and that leads us to. So how are you going to spend the money? Are you going to buy more of the same thing you had in the past? Or are you going to learn that there is new technology that's going to change the way the modern warfighters will be working, and to spend it more correctly towards the right technology? Overall, it will be spent on a lot of technology, but to see how the drones are being used as force multipliers. So I have small Ukraine units can handle a big opponent like the Russians. That is really a big change within our industry. We strongly believe that NATO-produced drones will be favorized over non-NATO-produced drones, simply because there's also defense industry strategies involved in this. there will be spent more money, and traditionally the governmental money in the defense industry is spent as local as possible. So if it's possible, you spend it locally, but also for the closeness to the market, also for the closeness of repair, overhaul, and other spares. It's something you want to do. Chinese produced drones, they will disappear from the NATO military market. So what we have seen, so the biggest small drone producer in the world today is DJI. They have estimated 80% of the global market of small drones, and they have been under strong attack the last 4 months, no, 4 weeks in reality, since the conflict or since the war started. So the accusation is that DJI, they not only sell the drone, but they also sell a tracking system. So that means that you can track and follow all drones in the air, and then you can also see where the pilot is. So before the weekend, they announced that their drones are not made for the military market. They will not support the military market, and they have never intended to make military-grade drones. So it's a very strong statement from them, and I think it's they don't have any other options and to go in that direction. So it's going to be much clearer what is going to be a pure play military spec drone, and what is going to be a consumer grade drone, and what is going to be in between a more industry inspection type of drone. If you look at how the innovation works in this industry, there is a lot of innovation on the industry side historically, but the adoption of technology is missing and has been missing on the military side, and that is going to change. And the sales processes will have to be adapted as well. So the sales processes is long in our industry. But you can't be spending all that money if you have long sales process on top of it. So you need to change and you need to accept much quicker sales or procurement processes, which means that the procurement process or the exemptions that you could use, so it's national security exemptions in this case, they will be used, and that is changing the dynamics of the market as well. It's also favorable for those with existing customers, with existing products, and with a track record to show for. And then the approval and certification processes for new technology in the defense market, which is sometimes very, very long. When you're in, it's good because the product lasts for a long time. But to all of a sudden do a rapid technology change, it also means that you would have to accept technology that you don't buy and forget, but it's a technology that will be evolving throughout the lifetime of the product. So that is what we are expecting for the market. The sum of this is that we are seeing a significant growth opportunity. We are seeing a market development that is being radically changed, and for us as a company, we planned with high growth expectations in the securities for in the beginning of this year, and we definitely do not think that is going to change. So what we are looking into is could we change capacity towards that area when the demand is increasing. And how much extra capacity could we potentially have beyond our original plan? And we have extra capacity on the production side, we have extra capacity on the operation side, and we have partner capacity on the system integrator side that could support us on supporting the market with the opportunities that we currently see. Okay, and so the message is that we see it as our responsibility to do our part in defending freedom and democracy in Europe through the solutions that we are offering to the market, and we also see ourselves as very well positioned for the need that has been created. So. that was a good hour and 15 minutes. So I think we'll jump into the Q&As then.
We will start with the people in the room.
Thank you. Can I start off with the split between own IP and resale? You said that you target own IP long term to be around 50% of revenues. So just to understand a bit about the difference in economics between resale and own IP.
Yeah, so when we say own IP, acting as a system integrator, it means all the value that we add on top of the OEM's delivery. So we are talking around 50% to be the own IP part of it. So that includes the pure, where our system integration side is from a robot, or if we have a tactical UAV where we add all the other elements that we are bringing to it. So that's the split that we do. So around what is so around 50%. We talk about around 25% of split into what is more simple resell, but perhaps that's going to come down and the lifecycle support is going to come up as we see a demand for more advanced products and longer lifecycle support contracts that will come out. But in the short term, we think that it's not going to be like that. We think that the operation side will have a bigger impact in the short term because it takes time to build up this capacity. For us as a commercial company, we have taken 2 years to build up the capacity, and we have done it very quickly. For a governmental agency or a defense customer, it's going to take them a quite long time to build up the operational capacity. And we could support them in that process by flying and delivering data or training them and so on. So in 2025 perspective, 50%, around 50% own IP is what we are targeting.
Okay, and on cost inflation and supply chain in the drone industry, do you see that as a risk to your revenue and EBITDA margin targets, or are you able to offset increased costs with higher prices and are comfortable with the supply chain situation?
Yeah, we are looking into that for time being. So up until now, I think the question is there are 2 types of customers in the drone industry, and because there are a lot of components that are quite drone specific, so there are a lot of very small customers. And then there are very few large customers. So we are looking into that side. But Lars, how do you feel it now?
So we see from the system integrator side, we see we have long-term contracts in place, and we don't see the pressure from either a supply or cost from our own IP. Of course, there is certain supply lines which are more challenging than others, but we are working with the suppliers to build redundancy in that side. But there will be components which does have increases as such. But we're also looking when we're decomposing the system, we're looking what can we actually take in-house instead of buying it from externally. So we have a few components or high-cost components on the platform which we're actually moving from buying to producing in-house, both to reduce the cost but also the lead time.
And finally, for me, on the US expansion with the Stalker drones and the airobot drones, who's your main competitors there, and what's sort of your competitive?
So US is even more protective than Europe when it comes to it needs to be a a chain of trust. So that means that there are less Chinese competitors already in the market. But if you look at the Stalker side, so on the logistical platform, we haven't identified any as of yet. But there are several that has that is under development, so it's unclear to us their maturity. There are obviously commercial drones that is going in that direction, but with our Stalker BT200, we always developed it with high wind tolerance, high rain and snow tolerance. So it has a much more military grade type of IP rating than what the competitors have. Because we are Norwegian and we develop it to work in the north of Norway in the winter. So simple as that. But for the rail, no, we don't have seen anything in the market, and that's why we see the interest in the market as well. But for the air robot, there are several competitors in the market today, and we look at the US market as what is the state market, so sheriff departments or police departments and so on. And then on a federal level, there are several agencies, and that where the Department of Defense is one of them. So the US market is highly driven by the Blue UAS list. So that's a list of approved vendors. It started when the US was moving away from DJI, so DJI is more or less banned in the US now. So there are several competitors in the market now, but we still think we have a pretty relevant product for the market.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question related to AirRobot. Can you add some light on the relationship between the German forces and AirRobot? And would you say that some part of the revenue streams are recurring?
Yes, there is an existing maintenance contract with the German Armed Forces. So yes, it's recurring. It's quite crucial to have to secure maintenance when you buy this product. So we do daily and weekly maintenance of the entire fleet that they currently have. We also do upgrades as these drones are getting old. They also get some upgrades, and then we do training of new people. So it has a long-term recurring element to that contract. Yeah. So and the other question was.
Well, I asked about recurring revenues, but you answered it.
Okay,
So,
I got it. Okay, yeah, then I got it.
Yeah. So I have another one. So what's the competition on the upcoming contracts with the German forces?
You're talking about the Mikado?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Mikado contract was that you had some basic things you had to do. So you had to be everything was in German, and you have to have German facility, German produced. Need the ISO 9001 the AS 9100 certification. So in reality, we don't consider that there are many competitors. So the German drone industry is not very big at all, and AirRobot has been a major provider to Bundeswehr for a very long time. So there are not many competitors in this at all.
Okay, thank you.
On the same German contract, you said that the potential award is delayed and now until middle of May, and that there is no expected offtake from that contract until 23. Is that changing now with there's increased spending, etc.? And is that one of the reasons why you had a note there that you consider start producing the product before having signed the orders for it?
Yeah, so we I don't think there are delayed. It's just the time it's taking for the award, and the revenue effect of the contract will start in 2022 because there is a lot of work packages and certification and design freeze and things like that happens before the actual production of the drone starts. But as we're saying, we are considering about the start of production, and that's not related to that contract. That's related to other potential customers. So it's for the final design. It's more there are software elements and special software requirements that in that specific potential contract. But what we are looking into is if the lead time of securing all the components to build is 120 days, or if it's 90 days, then the time it takes to deliver to a customer will affect your ability to act on short-term demand. So we are looking into, should we start the production on speculation, or should we at least secure the components on speculation to reduce the sales cycle lead time that we are expecting in the current market.
And doing that would require funding, of course, and is that within your existing cash and facilities?
Yeah, so currently AirRobot has good bank contacts in Germany. So funding for the existing customer is more working capital type of bank debt. So we wouldn't take that decision if we hadn't the sufficient funding to do it. Okay, so that was the physical questions. Do we have any digital questions?
We do. Let's start with Nadim Baltic. On the change picture on the back of the tragic war, do you see increased order activity, or can you indicate if you see increased requests from clients that could potentially lead to orders? If possible, is it possible to quantify?
Well, the answer is yes to both questions. Yes. The third question is possible to quantify. No, we don't like to quantify it now, but what we can say, the short-term orders is based on what we have in stock, and we don't have a large amount of goods in stock for now. But for the longer, we will come back to that when we do the Q1 update.
Nadim has a second question. How is supply bottlenecks components affecting you, and how is your inventory level in order to execute on the increased demand?
Yeah, I think we answered that slightly. We are seeing that there are lead times, and we have built up a certain. We did build up a certain stock in Q3, Q4 to be able to respond to the market and to kind of bridge the lead time. But I think lead times of 90, 120 days of even small things, we are seeing. So we are trying to work that out on not taking too high risk, but at the same time being able to supply to customers. On operations, it's different. It's shorter lead times because we have the entire thing under control as long as we have capacity. So that's different.
Okay, we have a question from Daniel Finken. How confident are you to fulfill the requirements from the Bundeswehr regarding the Mikado contract?
We are very confident.
Alexander Jagodt asks, what's the potential revenue from the 145 systems from the Mikado contract?
Yeah, so since the contract is not awarded, I would not like to be too specific on that. But it's a 10-year contract. It's 145 systems, some development, and then the annual maintenance, repair, and overhaul for 10 years. All of that included in the contract. So it's a considerable amount, but obviously they also get a discount from our list price, as it's a good amount. So I would not like to say at this point, since it's not awarded, but we will in the event of a potential award, we will indicate the value of the contract then.
Lars Ole Engelsen is asking, who is delivering the drones to NATO that NATO uses today? Is it a direct contract to the supplier, or is there someone between customer and supplier?
Yeah, if I can narrow that down, if you take Germany, since they now have the biggest budget. So on one hand, it's us delivering the Bundeswehr stuff, the small stuff that they have today. Then Airbus are delivering services to Bundeswehr. So they operate, the Bundeswehr owns the asset, and then Airbus operates it for Bundeswehr. Then they have another contract where Bundeswehr operates everything, coming from another German producer, the Luna. And there are some Israeli drones as well that the Germans are using. So it's mainly US OEMs or Israeli OEMs that is using what we see in EU, and for Turkey they do their own drones, so they have their own drone industry. So that's a different source than the rest.
Yeah, and the second part of that question, are any of the countries using services from an external company today, or is it a possibility that you see might be a solution for smaller budget countries?
Yeah, as I said, Airbus is doing that in Germany for Bundeswehr as we speak. Also, our definition in Norway is that what we define as Coast Guard is part of the Norwegian defense, but EMSA is part of the EU Coast Guard. So the type of maritime surveillance that we are doing today, or actually everything that we are doing with the tactical UAVs today, looking at that from a Norwegian point of view, that will be pure Coast Guard services. So I think the line between what is Coast Guard, what is defense, and what is a service and what is data is kind of it's not very easy to say what is what. But it's a good question, because what we are saying is that we believe that the service side of delivering to the defense customer has to increase, because they don't have time to build up the capacity themselves. So it is implying that there will be more service contracts coming out. But this is something we saw back in when US started in Afghanistan and Iraq. A lot of service contracts got awarded for drone operations, and because they couldn't build up the capacity themselves, and it gives a lot of flexibility for the customer, because they can turn it on and turn it off when they need it.
Okay, final question from Sasha Tue. Could you give us some insights on the technical readiness level? For example, how much time does it take to get from level 1 to 9? Any example what's done in each level? Thanks.
Yeah, so I forgot to say that. I'll go back and show. So there was a strange line there. So that's why we had that strange line. It was a good question, actually. So it took us back into... Okay, so you see the line says progress development, and you see that's not a straight line at all. So the whole point of showing that is that, okay, so you start with a prototype, and you go out and you get it to work, and you are all happy. It's like, this was simple and great days and so on. Then you start the process of making that minimum viable product into an industrial product, and that is both hardware and software. And these things, they are not self-driving cars, because they stop on the street and you can pick them up. These are drones, so they fall down. So that means that the process is not a straight line at all. So it does take a lot of time, and that's why we're using this. So you start with, you are super optimistic, everything is going well. Then you become a bit more realistic when you realize that okay, when you put the systems together, it wasn't that easy as you expected. Then you start thinking about weather, rain and snow and so on. So the curve goes down, and then you spend time on coding and making this into a real product, and then a more a more stable line emerges, which is where we are now. So it takes years. So that's why I'm saying you can't start developing now to be supplying on a demand that is now or the next 2 years. You have to use what you have.
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for listening, and do send questions to ir@nordicunmanned.com if you have more questions. And we will be back presenting our Q1 numbers on the 18th of May. So hope to have you listening then. Okay, so have a good day, and thanks again.